The final practice is collective action. So after you've done dig, which remember is very introspective, you're asking yourself questions, you're understanding your own identity, how other people perceive that identity. Bridge is about authentically connecting with people who are different than you. But those are not the final, that's not the goal. The goal is not to just understand yourself. The goal is not to develop connections with people who are different than you only. Those are great outcomes. But the reason we do dig followed by bridge is so we can now link arms. And I know that you have my back. I can link arms with Sarah and say, Sarah, girl, we have got to recruit some Black women senior leaders in this organization. And I know that she has those 4 characteristics. What did I say were the 4 components of an authentic connection? Empathy, risk-taking, vulnerability, and trust. So I didn't just make those up. We actually studied this. So I'm hoping y'all will keep that in your minds. I have COVID, I had it for, well, not now, Lord have mercy. Let me clarify. I have had COVID twice. I'm fully recovered, but one of the effects of that is short-term memory. It affects my memory. So if I repeat something, forgive me. Hopefully it's going well. Come on in. Hi. So that is, I really wanted you all to make sure that you can remember what we're talking about, because they aren't just happenstance. We've worked really hard to try to come up with, like I said, a constellation of attributes that really can help to define authentic connection. So we want to link arms so that we can together dismantle systemic inequities. And what do I mean? Systemic inequities. So there are at least 8 people processes in most organizations, from recruiting to onboarding, socialization, pay, training, evaluation. If you pick any one of those systems, you can probably come up with examples of where there are different outcomes for different groups. And I know it's controversial because some people will say, well, they're different outcomes because they're different inputs. Have you heard that? So people get paid differently because one person was better at the job than other. Well, when you look at the collective level, though, where you expect there to be some kind of randomized performance, either, and I think I said this to you, Brett, on the podcast, let's look at the pay gap between, I'm using the binary here, but that's how a lot of the data historically has been collected between men and women. Either you believe that women are just underperforming men, writ large, or you might believe that there's some systemic differences that are not due to individual performance. Men in the room, you're outnumbered. No, really, I think it's important that we ask ourselves those kinds of questions, because the way that we frame the problem affects the interventions that we then create to resolve the issue. So if you are someone who believes that women are underperforming men, and I know this is the kind of question that you might privately, or belief you might privately have, I would encourage you to go, rather than going forward to collective action, go back to dig and ask yourself, why do I think that? When did I first start to think that? Who else thinks that way? Where might these thoughts have originated? And the final really important dig question is, what if I'm wrong? Ask yourself, what if I am wrong? What if there are systemic issues that differentially affect different people? Then what would I do? Okay. So collective action means we've linked arms. We're looking at one of these 8 people processes. And one of the examples that I'd actually like to give you all requires that we, again, go into professor mode. Let's go back to the gender pay gap. Now, you may have heard the terms equality and equity. Have you all heard of those terms? People use them interchangeably, but do you understand that they're different things? Because equality would mean that we just give everyone right now the same salary. You give everyone equal things. Equity means that it's looking at the inputs and the outputs. It means that you're creating systems that take those inputs and outputs into consideration, and you build systems that are sensitive to the needs of the people in those systems.